Round 18 AFL action kicks off tonight with a charity game that everyone loves getting around, and a couple of games over the weekend have a lot of bearing on where teams will sit come the end of the home and away season. All this and more discussed on the upcoming instalment of AFL 2018 season predictions, teams and tips.
His name is Godzirra.
What's going on, Godzirra Nation? This is Godzirra back again with another AFL Teams and Tips video. Thank you for joining me, as always. Before we get started, thank you guys so much for all the support you guys have thrown behind the channel. We have reached over 400 subscribers, and I do have a 400 subscriber question and answer video coming next week, so stay tuned for that. If you're new to the channel and you don't know what's going on here, we look at the upcoming games for the AFL weekend, we talk about the ins and outs, and we give our predictions in the video as well. Get your comments going with your tips for this weekend's game, and if you're new to the channel, plenty of other stuff to go check out. If you like what you see, get on board the Godzirra Nation by hitting subscribe. But round 18 kicks off tonight, Etihad Stadium, the Matty Riewoldt Vision game that we always love getting behind. Well, as a Richmond fan personally, St Kilda hosting Richmond at Etihad Stadium. In for St Kilda, Josh Battle and Sebastian Ross. Jack Loney is out injured, as well as key defender Jimmy Webster, who's been having a very big year for the Saints. For Richmond, Nathan Broad, Connor Menadue and Camden McIntosh all in. Basher Hooley out injured with that groin injury again. Shai Bolton and Corey Ellis both omitted. I am backing Richmond here. When Richmond lose games they shouldn't lose, like we did last week against GWS, there's a fire that burns, and unfortunately St Kilda's going to be on the end of it. However, St Kilda could rock up and want to play some football, and there's a lot of people saying that St Kilda are going to upset Richmond here. They are big money payouts here if you do want to back St Kilda. I think they're paying upwards of $5 for the win, but Richmond, I think, quite comfortably will get it done. Jack Riewoldt will start. I think he'll kick about 4 or 5 goals for his cousin and get back on track to maintaining that number 1 spot and heading into finals with a bit more momentum than what they currently should be running with. We head on over Saturday afternoon, first game of Saturday. The MCG is hosting Collingwood versus North Melbourne. In for the Magpies, Sam Murray and Mason Cox. Ben Crocker and Josh Dacos both been omitted. North Melbourne is going in unchanged. And I am going to go out on a very big limb here. And I am going to back North Melbourne to beat Collingwood. I just think North Melbourne, they showed so much against Sydney last week, whereas West Coast kind of put Collingwood to the sword. This is, I feel personally, a must-win game for both clubs. It's the one of 2 games this weekend where the loser of this game could potentially have a season with the next few rounds, a season that drops them out of top 8 and out of finals contention. But I feel North Melbourne have been running with the most momentum here. Could be an absolute whitewash, and Collingwood could come out and absolutely dominate, but I am backing North Melbourne to knock off Collingwood Saturday afternoon. We head on over to the SCG, where Sydney Swans are hosting the Gold Coast Suns. Darcy Cameron finally comes in for his first game for the Sydney Swans. Daniel Robinson is omitted. For the Suns, Jacob Heron, Cade Kolodajny and Jesse Lonergan in. David Swallow is being rested, with Josh Schoenfield omitted and Jack Martin out injured, and Sydney are going to absolutely whitewash the Suns. If they do not win this game by 10 plus goals, there is something wrong. It is good to see that JPK, Josh Kennedy, he's up with that back injury he sustained against North Melbourne. He's still going to be out there having a run around. I thought they might have given him a rest, but it looks like they're sticking with him. But Sydney quite comfortably here, and this will lock up their finals spot. Later on Saturday afternoon, we head back to the Etihad Stadium. Essendon taking on Fremantle. Orazio Fantasia comes in for Essendon, as well as David Zaharakis. Connor McKenna is out injured. Jake Long has been omitted. Darcy Parish plays game 50 for the Bombers. Taylor Dooman and Darcy Tucker both come in for Fremantle, with Ryan Nias out with that suspension after that big tackle on Robbie Gray. Stephen Hill out injured as well. And Essendon will get it done quite comfortably against Fremantle. Essendon is still one of those teams outside the 8 that could put on a big press for a top 8 spot, which is what I'm saying. There's a few games this weekend that will have a lot of bearing as to the shape of the final 8, probably barring West Coast and Richmond. I'd say West Coast and Richmond at this point in time are pretty much safe in their roles. But I'm going to back Essendon here. I think even though Fremantle showed a lot against Port Adelaide, they're going to be a little bit out of their depth coming down to Melbourne. Essendon have been playing some good football, and I'm going to back the Bombers to knock off a Fremantle that is without Nat Fyfe, Aaron Sandilands, Stephen Hill. Those are some big outs, and I think Essendon will capitalise on that. Later on that night, we head on over to the GMHBA Stadium. Geelong hosting Melbourne. Lockie Henderson and Jordan Cunico in for the Cats, with Sam Simpson and Wiley Buzzer omitted. Dom Tyson and Joel Smith both come in for Melbourne, with Mitch Hannon and Michael Hibbard out injured. Jake Melksham plays game 150. Angus Brayshaw plays game 50. And I'm going to tip an upset here. I'm going to tip a Geelong losing at home, because I am backing Melbourne. Now, you might be thinking I'm a bit crazy. Michael Hibbard out of defence is going to leave a really big gap in Melbourne's defensive structure, but I feel that their second tier players have really been lifting the last few weeks. I see Max Gawn absolutely dominating in the ruck. The midfield battle is going to be really good. It's going to be good to see players like, Dom Tyson running alongside Gary Ablett, Joel Selwood, Patrick Dangerfield, throw in Clayton Oliver into the mix, Christian Petrarca popping in and out, Angus Brayshaw in there. But I think Melbourne here need to start making a hard press. Geelong's one of those teams that I feel could drop out of the 8 by the end of the season, and it is on the back of myself picking Melbourne that I think Geelong's year starts to drop. Big call considering it's being played in Geelong, and Geelong tend to dominate that ground, but I'm backing Melbourne to get it done. The final game for Saturday night is at the Gabba, with Brisbane Lions hosting Adelaide. No change to the Brisbane lineup. Daniel Talia and Mitch McGovern both come in for the Crows, with Kyle Hartigan out injured, Taylor Walker serving suspension, Jake Kelly playing game 50. And even though Brisbane have strung together a 3-game winning streak, this is where it ends, because I feel Adelaide get it done here against the Lions. However, that being said, Brisbane have been playing some absolutely ripper football, and I'm calling it now. Brisbane will play finals within the next 2 to 3 years. You're probably saying Godzirra's off his rocker, but they've got a very, very promising young lineup, and they are showing some glimpses of brilliant football. However, I think here, Mitch McGovern coming back in adds a little bit up forward. Daniel Talia definitely adds a lot to their defensive structure. And it could be a close game. It really could be a close game. But I'm going to back Adelaide in the clutch to get it done. Sunday afternoon action kicks off at Etihad Stadium. Carlton hosting Hawthorn. Now, these are extended benches, so stay tuned to your allotted AFL pages to make sure you get the proper ins and outs for the Sunday games. But named as in for the Blues, Jacob Wiedering, Levi Casbolt, Nick Graham, Kim LeBoys, Matthew Loeb and Matthew Wright. Kim LeBoys and Matthew Loeb both named to debut for the club if selected. Matthew Cruiser is out being managed, which tells me Matthew Loeb probably gets his debut. Jed Lamb out serving suspension for the Hawks. Caden Brand, Ryan Schoenmakers, James Warple, Mike Pinanette, Connor Glass, Jonathan O'Rourke, all named. Tim O'Brien has been omitted. James Sicily out injured for that 6 weeks with that broken wrist. And I still think Hawthorn get it done here. Hawthorn, another club pushing for that illustrious top 8 spot, and I think the Hawks are actually going to get it done. I tipped the Hawks, doing a ladder prediction, to finish as high as 5th place. So I think the Hawks can make a good push. James Sicily is a big out. but I still think Hawthorn will get it done quite comfortably over a struggling Carlton lineup. Optus Stadium is where it's at later on Saturday afternoon. West Coast Eagles hosting the Western Bulldogs. Dom Sheed, Nathan Vardy, Jackson Nelson, Tom Barras, Brandon Archie, all named as in for the Eagles. Nick Natanui out injured for the rest of the season. Hayden Crozier, Tom Boyd, Fletcher Roberts and Fergus Green, all named for the Bulldogs. Fergus Green will debut if selected. Lockie Hunter plays game 100. Bulldogs might as well not get on that plane because West Coast over at Optus Stadium are going to be way too strong to knock off here. They'll get another very comfortable win, and that fight for top spot with Richmond is a real arm wrestle, and it's going to continue to do so because I'm picking both of those clubs, Richmond and Eagles, to win this weekend and stay on top of the ladder respectively, first and second. The final game for round 18 is at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide hosting GWS Giants. Jasper Pittard, Kane Farrell, Aidan Johnson, Jack Trengrove and Jared Leinart, all named as in for Port Power. Paddy Ryder out injured. Kane Farrell and Jared Leinart named to debut if selected. Aidan Bonner, Lockie Keith, Matt Buntine, Brett Delidio, Daniel Lloyd, all named ins for GWS. Ryan Griffin out injured. Aidan Bonner will debut if selected. And this could really go 50-50. GWS showed a lot of spirit against Richmond last week. Richmond probably lost the game off their own boot more than anything, but GWS showed without that tall lineup in their forward line, they can still capitalise when moving the ball forward. Port Adelaide, very deplorable against Fremantle. And they're coming back home, so you'd think they'd spark a little bit something down there. But GWS are going to bring the fight, and they've got some big names coming in. Paddy Ryder out injured is also going to play into effect. I didn't realise how hard this game would be to tip. On the basis that it's in Adelaide Oval, I am going with Port Power. I have said many times I'm going to stop backing Port. Yeah, I'm backing Port Power here. I still think their lineup is a lot stronger than GWS's, and I think the fact that their forward line is going to be a little bit smaller without Cameron and Patton, the tall defenders down in defence for Port Adelaide, are going to have a field day. And I'm going to back Port to round out round 18 tips. So to look over who we have tipped, we're going with Richmond, North Melbourne, Sydney, Essendon, Melbourne, Adelaide, Hawthorn, West Coast, and Port Adelaide. As I said at the start of the video, guys, be sure to get your tips down in the comment section down below. Leave a thumbs up on this video if you have been enjoying this. It's something we're going to be doing every season moving forward, and hell, might be something we even start dabbling in with other sporting codes as well. I've got a few American subscribers, well, I've got a lot of American subscribers, and I think I might get involved in doing some NFL tipping and teams announcements and stuff as well. See how that goes. But subscribe if you are new, guys. Plenty of stuff to go check out. I urge you to do so. All my social media links are down below. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find everything, as I said, in that description box. Just for you guys. You know, I want you guys to reach out and have a chat. Some of you have been, and it's really good to get some active feedback from you guys and just talk about day-to-day things. It's really rewarding, you know, to be able to reach out and chat with you all. Hit that notification bell as well so you get notified every single time something brand new hits the channel. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.